Hello and welcome to Cowboys Takeover Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Jason Kent. With me, as always, Aaron James. Aaron, it's a good Monday. It's a great Monday, some would say. You know, and you're looking at it. We opened our last show with fantasy guys we need to produce. The guy I picked for my season I needed to produce hasn't played yet. You know, but in my league, we say we're big kicker guys. We're a kicker show, some would say. I went out there, you know what I said? I was like, you know what? I need a kicker that can boot. I need a guy that kicks them long and hard. You know who that is? Mr. Brandon Aubrey. I was very upset yesterday when they took that 66-yarder away from him. You know, that's another 30 points I should have had for my kicker. My kicker already had 37 points. You know what's even better? You know what I did? You know, Brandon Aubrey, I took the first kicker off the board. Had to be Dallas. You know, I had to represent all kickers. And even better, you know the first defense off that board? It was that Dallas Cowboy defense. That Dallas Cowboy defense stepped up yesterday. On something I think we had a lot of question marks in, and I understand the Cleveland Browns were missing their tackles. But Dallas is supposed to be a great defense. And what do great defenses do when they run up to offenses that are missing key pieces? They do they eat. They do what they did yesterday. And I think that was one of the key, one of our keys was kind of how they can control everything. You know, the way, especially last year, and you look at it, especially this Dallas defense is built to play from ahead. This Dallas defense is really built to play from ahead. So when they got, they did get a little early lead, but it really seemed like Cleveland couldn't get much going. How impressed were you coming out? And I think there's a lot to look over, a lot to be impressed with that Dallas defense. How impressed? What was your, when you look at it, what were you most impressed with overall with that defense, Aaron?
Oh, well, I think it starts in the trenches. The pressure that we were able to get on Deshaun Watson. We didn't talk a lot about their offensive line and missing two linemen. I believe both their tackles.
Yeah.
We called it kind of right on the button. 93 rushing yards allowed on the Brown side, but we came up with 6 sacks. Only allowed 137 passing yards, and I believe, Browns were 2 of 15 on third down. And you know what? We didn't really even miss Deron Bland this game. I thought they were going to take a lot of shots to that rookie corner, and Carson's held his own. In fact, he dropped a pick. He had himself a couple tackles and 4 solo tackles, 2 passes defended. I mean, I could go on and on. Diggs looks sharp. Parsons, he did his thing. He was disruptive. He should have had at least 2 more sacks.
Yeah.
And he attributed to Kendrick's interception. So, I don't think they keep track of those assists. But that was big. We were talking in the green room, overshown. 5 solo tackles, 1 big sack. But the dude just looks so fast, and I'm ready to play the Eagles.
Well, he's somebody we both talked about last year prior to his injury. When you look at him with Dallas's really lack of depth at linebacker, he's really somebody that we thought could be a big player at that linebacker position. And he's not the biggest dude, but he was flying around. Like you said, 5 solo, I think 11 total. He had a sack himself. It was exciting. And I wasn't sure what we were going to get from Kendricks either. So when I look at it, and man, if your top 2 tacklers are those 2 guys, they combined for 20 tackles and 11 solo tackles and 3 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 4 quarterback hits. Kendricks had an interception. That's if we're getting that kind of play out of linebackers, it's going to be a dangerous team because I think that was our one of our biggest weaknesses was stopping the run. We didn't have really downhill linebackers. Yes, we had Van Der Esch, but he's always hurt. And once he got hurt, nobody's there. But we haven't had somebody consistently play. And so if we can get these two guys in there rotating with this defense, Zimmer had this defense ready. And you're right. I know I think we missed it a little bit. I knew they were hurt. I didn't know if they were missing. They were both questionable, but that's what you're supposed to do when you're a great defense, like this Dallas defense. Micah, Tank's getting sacks. You got everybody that's supposed to show up did. And in the back end, they were shutting down. They had 2 interceptions. They could have had a few more that they just missed. So I think I'm really excited out of what I've seen from that defense. And it can only get better because Brand's going to be back in a few weeks. It's not like, and I get you're missing pieces, but they still held it down. With Cleveland missing the offensive tackles, it's not like we got tortured. We were very worried about kind of some plays, and yeah, he was under pressure a lot, but you're still worried about that big play, and they didn't really seem to give it up. And they didn't really let Ford run well either. Like Jerome Ford, he really couldn't get going that well. Watson was their biggest dude. Yeah, they really shut down Ford as well. So everything I wanted to see, and I get the passing game, but everything you really wanted to see showed up against a Cleveland team. That's a solid team. They are a very decent team.
They are. And they're a good team at home. I think last year they only allowed their opponents an average of like 13.3 points a game, if my numbers are right. So, look, our defense, I don't want to overreact. It's season 1. Everyone's getting a lot of jitters. Not everyone, they're getting their jitters out of the way. Not everyone plays in the preseason. But how far are you willing to say our defense will be ranked?
I think they should be a top 5 defense, no doubt. And with the way they played, I get it, but they did what you're supposed to do. I don't think it's an overreaction when they did what they're supposed to do against a team that's missing pieces. They came out and they shut them down. After that early field goal, they really didn't allow a point, I believe, until the 4th quarter or the 3rd quarter, at the end of the 3rd. So it was, they really locked it down. And that field goal really wasn't even their fault. So that defense really showed up and kept Dallas early in that game when that offense was struggling to really get going. That defense showed up and really killed it. And then, you got to add to it the Turpin on special teams, man. He's dangerous. It really looks like with the new kickoff rules, there not going to be many kickoffs this season. I don't know what that is. But the punt game, man, is still very important. And that's how you change field possession. So you got a guy, with this Dallas defense, you can get 3 and outs, and Turpin is a dangerous weapon back there. Yeah. So what do you think? You're thinking top 5, top 3?
I'm thinking, I don't want to overreact. I think top 5, but I think we have a good shot of getting to that top 3 number, which would be a big boost, probably the best number that Dak has had on his side. But to comment on the Turpin thing, the Browns punted 7 times, had 7 punts, and when he returned return to the house, that was, I believe, number 3, if not 4. And I kind of knew it. Like, look at when you give a guy like Turpin that many looks at it, he's gonna get that feel and that groove, right? It's a little bit more difficult, I think, if you're just getting 1 or 2 a game, but if he's getting 3 or 4 or more per game because of that defense,
dangerous too,
man.
That speed kills, man. You saw it they did a lot of things with him offensively too last year. You saw him running around. That he's got dangerous speed, and that plays. And that's why I love the fact that they were able to keep him on this team for punt returns, because you need that aspect of it. And they've really shown, over the last couple of years, they're dangerous in all facets of the game. Now they may, I don't want to, playoff time is a different story, but this regular season, Dallas is going to be a dangerous team, defensively, special teams wise. But now when I do jump, kind of look offensively, man, I was disappointed. I think we do have to discuss first. Dak Prescott before the game yesterday did get announced. I saw differing numbers, but it's the four anywhere between 4 and 244 and 4 and 261, with I believe it was around 231 guaranteed, making him the highest paid player in NFL history. Um, Something I championed against. I don't think he deserves it from a playoff setting, but nonetheless, he got paid.
Mm-hmm.
And then he comes out, and I don't know. I was very disappointed in that in their play calling. Or just their rhythm. I did love you mentioned it before we even came on. Zeke, I think it was run number 1, hurdling already, and he lands it. So you got to love the dude for doing it. But I was very disappointed from what I saw with Dak in that offense yesterday. I felt like they never really got a groove going, and they had the ball a lot. Like your defense was getting you that ball back, and it felt like the consistency wasn't there. After what I saw the beginning of last season, I'm a little worried. Do you think how much of it do you believe has to do with Lamb really not playing much at all or practicing at all with really Dak most of the offseason?
I really don't think their chemistry played a role in this particular game. I think it was really more of some penalties. I was very disappointed in our first drive, and look, we ended with 11 penalties. Now, if you would have asked me without looking, I probably would have guessed 7 penalties because we didn't show those defensive penalties that we're known for that keep drives alive for our opponents. But so we had some penalties and some loss of downs. I mean, Dak got whacked thanks to Zach Martin.
Dude, when I saw it early on when that first drive, I was like, for a second I thought it's like this dude might come out for a play or two. Like you see, that's like a high school, like you just got pancaked hit. That was a vicious hit.
Yeah, and I think so. What you're kind of gearing towards, we were 4 of 14 on third down. That is just not good. 4 of 14 is not going to do it. 15 first downs, which was actually the same amount of first downs as the Browns. Not really impressive there, but on the flip side, 2 of 2 in the red zone.
That's a positive, especially after last year, the way it started.
Yep. And you know what? I have to give Cooks what's due to him. He did look like a number 2 yesterday, right? That's where Dak went on that all-out blitz for the touchdown. He got a couple other crucial catches throughout the game. I thought that was good. Time of possession. I was surprised we lost that by a minute at 29 minutes. And then we had 6 punts ourselves. So, in a lot of ways we dominated and our defense carried us. How we still ended up with 33 points.
It was a shocker.
Yeah.
When I look at it, it is tough. It makes me nervous. When I look through it, though, I guess you can take a couple positives. As John did state, Zeke looked okay. I feel like that's probably what you're going to get. You may max out at 15, but I feel like 10 to 12 carries a game for Zeke is what you're going to get. He did show us, like you said, one of the big reasons could be pass protection. He did show up there. You saw they were helping on Garrett on the edge. So that did come into play. And listen, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different receivers with the catch. So if you want to look at it, that there are maybe they're getting other guys involved, and it could help later on. So maybe I don't know, but I wanted to see a little bit more foot on your throat when your defense is playing so well. When you come out and you look at that defense, Dallas first drive -1 yards in the punt, it really hurts. And then field goal, 13 yards field goal, 3 plays 7 yards punt for Cleveland, 3 plays -5 yards, 3 plays 8 yards, 3 plays 3 yards, 2 plays interceptions, 3 plays 7 yards. That's on the first half. Like, so even their 6 play, 13 yards and got a field goal, Dallas's defense really shut them down. We should have really at halftime, it should not have been 20.
Yeah.
It should have been a much higher score. Like that Dallas's offense should have come out and really ended that game sooner. So especially as how great they were last year, it's disappointing, especially when you're getting, Dak just came out. So I don't know if maybe there was some pressure there. The contract, whatever the case may be, they need to come out better. I think they can't play this kind of offensive game, especially when you now have the highest paid player in NFL history. I think the second highest paid receiver on your team. You expect a much better performance. But I was encouraged with what I saw from Zeke. Pass protection, I did like. So I think there's a positive there.
There were two close calls where Garrett almost got to Dak and almost looked like a strip sack type of situation. But with that being said, I think given that Guyton had the top 3 defensive end against them, I think he did good. Probably I'd give him like a B. Nothing terrible. He had some help. And look, we also talked about this, right? Ferguson, Dak's number 2 guy. We had big expectations for him this year, and man, on that to get injured on a dinky 1 yard out flat. I mean,
it just looked bad when he came down. I was so nervous that was a torn ACL because you saw like right away grabbed the knee, and typically right away, that's what it is. Thankfully, it was only an MCL sprain, but
yeah. So I'm not calling for us to go out and trade for anybody. Probably, if I had to just guess off the hip here, maybe 6 weeks. We'll get him back, but Schoonmaker looks good. Who knows if we'll bring Hendershot back in after cutting him. I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but outside of that, I think an okay offensive performance. We took care of the ball. You got to give the Browns secondary their credit. They did a pretty good job. And, I guess at the end of the day, we didn't throw a lot on tape. In fact, Diggs said in an interview that Zimmer has 50 plays for them. And he said in the post game that they only use 3. So I think
3 plays all game.
Yeah,
pretty good defense. That's some pretty good defense. Yeah, if they're called 3 plays all game and that's what you do, I'm cool with keeping the playbook.
A lot of zone,
stupid.
Like a lot of zone, right? Is what we saw. I think that probably took the share of the defensive calls. But on the offensive side, I think it was just tough for McCarthy to get in a rhythm because some of the penalties and Zeke wasn't able to get that much, and he's a contact runner. His first 4 seasons, his first contract, he was juking guys, but now he's looking for that contact and basically trucking to fall forward is where he's at now.
Yeah, and listen, if you're going to give me, I think too, I need to see a little more from Rico. He had 26 yards on 8 carries, and he did have a 10-yard rush. So when you look at it, he really wasn't that impressive. I think they need to figure out who that number 2 is, and maybe it is Dalvin when he's finally ready to go. Because Rico had 8 carries, Zeke had 10, so that's kind of feel like that's what you can expect going forward. Deuce had 1, so I think Dalvin will probably take over that Rico role. I would assume at some point. Maybe listen. I think that's okay if you can get both of those guys 8 to 10 touches a game. I think that's perfect, right in their wheelhouse. I don't think either one of them are that workhorse anymore. But if you can give them both about 125 carries, listen, I'm okay with that. And I think that keeps everybody healthy, keeps the pressure off Dak. Dak doesn't have to do so much. Let him sit back, let him relax, let them, let the guys make big plays. But I'm saying I'm very happy after week 1. I can't be disappointed. The offense you want to see a little more out of, but that defense stepped up where they needed to. That's what I think my biggest takeaway and excitement is how good can this defense be this year once they get Bland back. I really think the sky's the limit for this team. I really believe for that defense this year.
Yeah, well, what to cap off
That may be an overreaction.
the discussion around the RB room. I'm not sure if you were watching Red Zone, but Tony Pollard hit a 27-yard TD run, and I was just, kind of missed him a little bit.
Yeah, I don't feel like he did much of that. Like, he didn't really break all. He didn't look as explosive last year. Getty, I think, was 7th in rushing, but he didn't look as explosive as he did the year before.
But yeah, true, but he was still dangerous with the ball.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I grade our performance, like a B plus.
I agree.
Not they don't get that A because of some of the offensive, efficiency numbers that we kind of went through. But on the road, you never know what you're going to expect. Week 1, we have to come up with a name for Aubrey.
I don't know, because there's so many. Like I think I was more upset that they didn't let him at least go try the set. I understand because it was close, and if he does kick it in, you don't want your kick team out there trying to tackle a returner. I understand, but damn, that would have been nice to see him try to boot the 71-yarder, because 66 he had, and he had some distance on it.
Yeah,
man, because the leg's already gone. So, and I feel like outside of the leg, what can you really give a kicker?
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I think Romo does a better job broadcasting than Brady.
I watched it muted. I couldn't listen. I didn't want to judge him. I didn't already Brady already.
And I think they're covering us again next week against the Saints. Same crew.
Is it really?
I believe so. And I was
I guess he's going to be doing a lot of Fox. Yeah, Fox. I guess he's going to get a lot of the Dallas games this year then.
Yeah.
Well, they should trade Romo to Fox. So at least Romo calls Dallas. Maybe that's why he's not with Fox.
Maybe. But I was thinking, hey, maybe he's going to call some plays like Romo does. Like, oh, here's what we're going to see here. And no. None of that.
He's because he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He doesn't need to let everybody know how smart he is. He's got 7 rings to show it. Okay, he doesn't need to do that. But thank you everyone for checking us out today. Cowboys Takeover Podcast. We really appreciate each and every listener. We're very excited. Like we said, we're happy. B+ is around. We can't go A because of that offense, but great overall performance by our Dallas Cowboys week 1. Like Aaron said, week 2 coming up is the New Orleans Saints at 1:00. So we will have our post game probably out Thursday, right? I think it's Thursday. Thursday night we'll do our pregame to kind of break down the matchups, break down the game, break down New Orleans, because they looked pretty good with Derek Carr this last week. So Dallas's defense is in, I think, for a little more tougher task than what they had to face this week. But nonetheless, they had a great performance, a lot to hang your hat on. If you're a Dallas fan, that linebacking core looks like they finally got some guys to add with our premier pass rushers and our premier defensive backs, really. So they look like they're ready to go. And I can't wait for the rest of the season. It's a great start. We're 1-0. Listen, I think I had him at 14. Aaron had him at 13. So we're already there. We're on pace for 17-0. Will it happen? I think so. After this week. No, I'm just kidding. Probably not. But 14-0, 1-0 already. We got New Orleans next week. Appreciate each and every one of you. If you're listening on YouTube, click the bell, subscribe, get notifications when we go live. Our Cowboys Takeover podcast, and our affiliate, the one that runs the show now, not runs, but hosting, Ring the Bell Network. Appreciate Chris for allowing us to do our podcast here. We really appreciate it, and thank you for everyone. Any new listeners that we have because of you guys, we really appreciate you checking us out. Let your friends know. We appreciate it. Cowboys 1-0. Let's go. We'll be here Thursday night with the preview for week 2. Appreciate you all. Love you all. Let's go, Cowboys.